It's Julia and
Daniel
from the Sool Company, and today we have a very special guest for one of our tasting videos. Ooh. We have Philip.
Hey, so I work at Wonderful. I'm the CTO at Wonderful, and we're a virtual personal assistant service helping out expats in Korea. We've been helping out expats for the last 3 years. And you can check out our page at gowonderfully.com.
We gotta say, like, we're big fans. Actually, you might know Wonderful from Ask Ajuma, which was their name previously to their new rebranding. Yeah. We're big fans.
Absolutely.
We're very happy to have you here today, Philip. Do you like makgeolli is the big question.
So, I have, for the past 4 years, I've had makgeolli on all my birthdays.
Yes!
What?
All my birthdays.
You're doing better than me. I think I skipped makgeolli on my most recent birthday.
No!
I had too much
It's
the day
a tradition.
before.
He gets a yes, you get a no. No.
Where I come from.
Oh, well, that's excellent. Where are you from, actually?
So, I'm from Kenya. Been here since 2011. So those are many years of makgeolli.
Yeah.
Well, we've got many more for you.
Yes,
we have a makgeolli that's
exciting.
very special today. Have you seen this makgeolli before?
No.
Excellent.
This is commonly known as the champagne of makgeollis. So this is what is like served when like diplomats come from overseas and they want to impress them with something really fancy. You get a glass of bubbly, but in this case, it's makgeolli bubbly.
It's very makgeolli bubbly. It even gets served in champagne glasses at times.
Ooh la la!
Ooh la la!
I'm all a tizzy.
This is called Boksoondoga, and if anybody has seen the Olympic torch that's been making its way all around Korea at a very hasty pace, they actually stopped through the hometown of Boksoondoga, which is...
Ulsan.
Hey!
Ulsan!
Yeah! High five.
So natural!
No, I knew it. It's just the makgeolli.
Tip of the tongue. Yes.
Delayed reaction.
It is a delayed reaction, but that's okay. You are correct. Yes. Ulsan is where this is from. And it has a very specific kind of image. And Dan said it's the makgeolli, that it's the champagne, but it's also got something to do with the way it opens.
Yeah. So this is brewed in a very traditional fashion. The brewery uses only the hangaris, or the clay pots, in order to make their brew. But the bottle, the makgeolli actually goes under a second conditioning in the bottle, where there's a lot of like pressure build up from the CO2, which means that this is an incredibly carbonated bottle. Which means that normally when you get makgeolli, you have to shake it up to kind of like mix up all the sediment. And sometimes that can explode on you.
That happened to you?
The makgeolli shower.
The makgeolli shower. You know, when you press, I just realized that this is kind of a fun thing for you to try. When you touch a makgeolli bottle, it usually presses in and out.
Yeah.
Give that a touch just there and see if you can press it in.
Oh, wow.
Hard as a rock. And that is kind of nerve-wracking. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a bomb.
So you don't even need to shake this one. What we're going to attempt to do is the only safe way to open this, which is to just basically click the lid just a teeny weeny bit and let it do its thing. Because
we call it burping.
Yeah, we burp the bottle and it's a very burpy baby.
It's a very burpy baby.
But as you can see, the sediment at the bottom here is all kind of like compressed at the bottom, and when you do burp it slightly, this actually self-mixes on its own.
Very beautiful. Yeah. It's actually one of the real big selling parts of this. We do a lot of tours and events and things like that. When this comes to the table and somebody opens it, everyone's eyes just go, bah.
What is it?
So we're going to rock, paper, scissors to see who opens it.
Oh, no.
That just came to me just now.
No, that was your job.
Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh! No, the winner opens it. The winner.
Dan! No, we're safe, we're safe. All right, Dan, show us how it's done.
Can you see the sweat is now coming off? All right.
It's not one we prepared earlier.
Okay. Did you shake this?
Came from my fridge.
Okay, so I'm going to just slightly...
Oh, yeah. There she goes. There she goes.
Ooh.
It's impressive, right?
Yeah.
It's a real showpiece. You know how when you win the Grand Prix and you shake up the champagne and pop it out? Don't even need to shake it.
No, this would be too messy.
It would be too messy. There'd be nothing left to drink at the end. That's
I'm
for
glad
sure.
you're enjoying it because I'm just so nervous right now. I'm just
I
like,
can feel the tension going on here. I have to say that when this brew first came out, I mean, it's the only one really of its kind in this style. When it first came out, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a couple of bars and I'd see people grabbing it saying, no, I will do it. I'll open it. Thinking it was Magkeolli and just giving it a shake and it just went everywhere. Ooh.
a little bit too close for comfort there.
Yeah.
Let it
Just let her
rest for a moment.
It's like cooking. We just made a steak. It's having its resting time. There we go.
So it's really interesting because like the sediment actually comes up and it's in kind of not very attractive clumps. But as time goes on and the carbon dioxide is released, everything like breaks off and it becomes really kind of like smooth and consistent and really creamy. And the texture of this is always really kind of like velvety and like evenly consistent.
It is quite an overall balanced brew. Just some notes about the brewery itself. We did say it's from Ulsan. The brewery actually only uses hangari, the clay pots, when they brew, because they are very much into the traditional aspects and the harmonious aspects. Actually, it's a long tradition in this family. I'm hearing all those lovely squidgy sounds here. The brewery, actually, it's 2 brothers that run it now. One's a mathematician and one's an architect.
Oh.
And they were inspired by their grandma, who used to brew in big clay pots in their house. And they're like,
Oh,
perfect timing.
yeah.
They were just really wanting to kind of emulate that tradition, and they have done that successfully.
Well, we're almost there. So the bubbles actually, they start off kind of like really small and then they get larger and more hexagonal. And it's kind of like just fizzing now like a regular brew, but just...
And you can tell from which stage it is when it's increasing. Or?
You definitely have to monitor it, and now it kind of really does look like champagne. It looks like you get that right. It's quite intense. Have you ever seen Magkeolli do that before? It's not really. Huzzah! Round of applause. Skills. Straight up skills.
I'm just waiting for it to kind of start smoking. Like,
you know what? You get first pour.
Oh, why, thank you very much, Julia.
You're very welcome. And actually, you know what's fun? When you pour it in, you can hear it. Is that just too nerdy?
It's just really nice.
It's kind of like the snap, crackle, pop effect. You know when you had rice pop? We called them rice bubbles. Did you have rice bubbles?
Rice Krispies.
That's the one. We call them rice bubbles. Snap, crackle, and pop. You can put your ear to it. Yeah, I'm the only one that did that. Okay.
I can hear it from here.
So now it comes down to tasting. Let's give it a go. First of all, let's take a smell and see what you think. Ooh, I actually got a bubble pop in my nose. It's still fizzing quite substantially.
Definitely tangy.
It smells pretty fresh.
Like fresh? Mm-hmm. It's very yogurty.
Yeah, true.
I'm getting kind of like an earthy, kind of very natural noodle-y kind of smell as well.
Really can't get that nose too close.
I quite like the little tingles.
Just let it keep washing away the Magkeolli from the nose. All right, let's have a taste. Oh, it's a party. Oh, wow. It's so fizzy.
It's like all over. It's like just a small sip and it just spreads all over your mouth.
Right? It's almost like
the Magkeolli goodness.
Spreading the Magkeolli goodness. That's the best advertisement they've ever had.
2 things I really get from this. One is obviously the carbonation. Like when it touches your tongue, it's like you're drinking like a sparkling wine.
Yeah.
So you get that kind of like tongue reaction. It's very lively. But then there's also a nice acidity to it as well. And the combination of those 2 things is like really kind of invigorating and lively.
And yet it's still sweet. It doesn't have a overpoweringly acidic kind of like tanginess. There is a nice sweet undertone. It's very balanced.
Definitely.
In terms of the hummus. One thing I always get about this is also a little bit savory. Like there's almost like a meaty, savory undertone.
Kind of in the back, yeah.
Right?
And there's so many things happening in terms of flavor there. They're like, I don't know, there's like a kind of like a caramelly, little like sweet brown sugary kind of like feeling
brown
into it.
sugar. Kind of like burnt brown sugar.
I don't know. I don't have the terminology. But it's definitely. I haven't tasted anything like it before. Honestly, it's like. I mean, fine. I can tell that it's Magkeolli to some extent, but then the feeling that comes from the carbonation and just the mixture of like the taste, it's very unique.
It's very different.
Let's play a little game. If this was to be a person, who would it be? If you were to characterize it as a person and give it a name, what would you call it?
We often do this in tasting classes.
I describe the person. The person's mellow. Is mellow. Well, she, I guess.
Hi.
Hey, lady.
And it's chill, but then intense.
Ooh, I see.
I just saw a whole, like, there are other people here, they're all nodding with you. Just chill but intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all they've got is the fizz to go by. They haven't tasted it. So, one thing to note about this brew is it actually does contain a sweetener. It does contain a teeny weeny bit of aspartame.
Yes, it does.
Which is very interesting because it's a very naturally brewed with a very old recipe that was brought up in the family, brewed in hangaris. So the aspartame is kind of an unusual quality to it. However, there's so many other like distinctive characteristics in terms of its like effervescence and its flavor. And also like its reputation is really, really great as well in the country. And I find myself always overlooking the fact that it's sweetened because I quite like it anyway.
It's one of, there's a couple on our, I mean, we also always talk about, you know, if you have the choice to choose a non-sweetened brew, then it's usually the one we'll go for. But there are a couple that get by us that we still actually just really like, even though they have it. And I definitely think this is up there. It's something that, it's almost like it has a place at the meal. I would serve this almost like as a welcome drink or like a, you know, a cocktail drink or something like that to warm yourself up and then get into the harder stuff later, I guess, because the alcohol percentage is not super high.
Well, true, yeah, it's not that strong, so it doesn't like just kick you in.
Right,
right, but then it's enjoyable. Like, it's...
How much would you say the percentage is? Can you take a guess of what it would feel like?
I'm not the best judge of that.
I would love to get just a number.
A number? Okay.
It's less than 50%.
Well,
so much
I've noticed if it's 50. Maybe 10, 15?
Ooh. No. But good try. It's actually a lot lower than that. It's only 6.5%.
Yeah.
It's much more comparable to, say, a strong beer. Most Magkeollis, we talk about Magkeolli being, it's kind of the ilban type, where it's kind of been watered down.
Table Magkeolli.
Right. So those are between 5 and say almost 8, 9, 10%. So this is only 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
can have a lot of it. Fill yourself as many of the bubbles as you can before you can.
I taste it and I feel like it's expensive. Like it's something which, I mean, you say that it should be given at the beginning of a meal, but I'm thinking more like, champagne glasses.
Ooh, celebratory kind of
That's
meal,
what
maybe.
Maybe your next birthday.
My next birthday, definitely.
Speaking of expensive, price point. If you are out there looking for Boksoondoga, the good thing about Boksoondoga is that it is very widely available. You can get this at just about every good Magkeolli bar. You can order it directly from the brewery. They have been around for a while, so their infrastructure is really good in terms of getting more people to try it.
They do have a couple of tasting rooms in Seoul as well, right?
They do. They have one near Gyeongbokgung in Iksan-dong, I think Iksan-dong?
Yeah, near the Tongin Market, right?
Yes, just near the Tongin Market. And you can go in and have a little taste and you can buy bottles there, which is great. In a bar, you should be expecting to pay between 20 and 25,000 won a bottle. If you're paying above that, it might be a little higher than what you'd expect to pay.
The good thing about this is, like a lot of Magkeollis, this is definitely something you want to share, so you can always like split the price up, so it doesn't feel so bad.
Also, this is 950 mils as opposed to 750, which is the usual bottle volume.
Right.
Good.
More.
More is always better.
More is always better. Shelf life.
So this lasts a good question.
30 days.
What?
30 30
30
days.
days.
30 days.
Yeah, this lasts 30 days.
What
But-
happens after? Is it
Well,
explode?
here's a little secret. This is actually beyond 30 days of the shelf life. We at the Sool Company manage to have brews come into our lives and into our fridges, and they get stored in our fridges for a very long time. So this is actually not within its recommended drinking date, but it's still really good. So that's a tip.
It's kind of like when you buy yogurt or milk. Like, you have the date where it can
Yeah,
be sold
yeah,
by, but
obviously.
you can always go a little after that. It's not going to kill you.
And in fact, in some cases, it even improves to your own personal taste.
Okay.
The idea of the expiry date is that that's what the brewery wants you, that's their intended flavor for you.
Right.
So experiment.
Yeah, brews often that have been aged longer, they tend to be a little bit drier, a little bit more complex, and also they can be more carbonated, which that's my excuse for why it took so long to open this
And
one.
we accept your excuse.
Thank you. So, shall we drain our cups?
We should. And we'd like to
call it
say
a night?
thank you, Philip from Wonderful. It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you. It's
I'm cringing so hard.
Come on, it's your style of
It
joke.
hurts. All right, well, kombe. Cheers.
Come
Thank
in.
you,
Thank
Sool
you.
Company.
Thank you.
Enjoy.